This is my 2007 Lexus LS460 and she's got no bass. In today's video, we're going to be installing a line output converter, and what that does is it allows us to install a subwoofer or external amplifier while keeping our factory head unit. Usually when you do a subwoofer install, you have an aftermarket head unit in your car, and those come with preamp outputs on the back of it that you can hook up RCA cables to and run straight to your subwoofer. In this case, I want to keep my OEM screen and radio set up, which means we're going to have to install a line output converter, which turns some of the speaker wire outputs into RCAs that we can then run to the amplifier. Before we dive right into installing the line output converter, there are 3 standards that I want to maintain while doing this install. Number 1, it has a signal adjustment knob, or a bass knob in this case, and that just allows you to turn up or turn down the signal going to the amplifier in case you want to adjust the volume of the amplifier separately. I do want to run this. I do not want it visible. This car is 100% stock and I would love to keep it that way. This cable is probably only arm's length. If I stretch all the way out, this cable isn't that long. So if I want to run the line output converter in the back where my subwoofer is and keep all those wires nice and short, I can't put this up here. So I'm either going to have to get an aux extender, which I'm probably going to end up having to do, or I might be able to install the line output converter right behind that upper headrest, which will then go down into the subwoofer. This cord might just make it to the center console, so we're going to try that. The second thing I wanted to keep in mind while doing this install is, again, because it's an OEM car, I don't want wires everywhere. I really want the minimum amount of wires. I want to keep everything as close together as possible. Ideally, everything in the trunk. If I ever want to take this out, I want to be able to take it out easily in 30 minutes. So just while doing this, I want to keep in mind being able to revert it back to stock quickly and easily. The third thing that I'm super concerned about is you not subscribed. That's so corny, bro. Third thing, like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps with the engagement. It means a lot to me. It's really nice to see growth in the channel, and I have continued to see growth in the channel, and it's nice to see. So without further ado, let's get into installing the line output converter. First thing.
Yeah.
As you can see, we're getting close. This is the OEM amplifier. Next thing we just got to do is remove this carpet piece so we can get access to the wires, which are along the backside right here. So I've gotten most of the way there, but I feel like I'm starting to just pull too hard and break things. So what I'm gonna do is pull down this upper layer. Super easy. There is this light. There's a clip right here. There's a clip I already took out right there. And then there are 4 little clips. 1, 2, 3, 4. To remove them, you just pull. Give it a firm kind of pull. So I'll pull out that light, and then hopefully this piece of carpet will come out. Okay, so finally the carpeting is out of the way enough, and we can entirely see our factory amplifier and all of the wiring that goes to it. In a second, I'll show you all the wires that we're going to need to cut and splice into in order to wire in our line output converter. By the way, if you're doing this on any other car, you can pretty much skip past this part. I'm just filming specifically to the LS460, or if you have a factory amplifier that you want to splice into. Otherwise, all you have to do is find 2 of the speakers, one on the left, one on the right, and run the positive and negative from one to the line output converter, and positive and negative from the other to the line output converter. One for the left, one for the right. It'll say in your line output converter. That's all you got to do. So, but for the LS460 specifically, the amplifier for the factory sound system is in the trunk, and all of the speaker wires run through there. So I'm going to be grabbing the positive and negative for left and right from the subwoofer wiring, which goes into this amplifier. Hopefully that's not too confusing. And yeah, the process is very similar for all cars, but it'll be a little bit different depending on your OEM sound system.
Yeah. No.
So I've completed wiring in the right and left inputs, splicing them into the original amplifier. Using the wiring diagram I showed on the screen prior, I spliced along the existing harness just with some butt connectors, made sure it was all nice and tight, did it once, did it right. That rhymed, like Dr. Seuss. So these 4 are done. The last 3 are just a power wire, a ground wire, and a remote wire. So basically when you key on the car, it'll turn on the box. These 2 are going to be easy. The yellow and black, the power and ground. There are on this connector right here 2 white cables and 2 black cables, again as seen in the diagram. The 2 black ones I believe are power and the white ones are ground, which you think it'd be the other way around, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I'll double check the diagram. But yeah, basically I'm gonna do the exact same thing, splice it in, but the power and ground are gonna go there. I'm gonna save the remote turn on for now. Once I install the subwoofer, as you know, if you've installed a subwoofer before, the amplifier on the woofer also needs a remote. So I will likely run the remote from the subwoofer over to here with this one and then connect it to somewhere else. I just don't want to do that quite yet in case I need to adjust the length of the wire or anything of the sort. So yeah, this is looking great. We are almost done. Got the power and ground wires spliced in as I said I would according to the wiring diagram. So for now, the line output converter is in. It is done. I will figure out how to mount it, probably something like that, maybe down on the side, I don't know. So for now, this is done. Next thing we're going to work on is figuring out where to put the bass knob and routing it into the interior.
Day 2.
We are back with day 2, which means it is time to figure out where we're going to run this bass knob. I actually think I have found a really good spot underneath the steering wheel, so let me show you exactly where that is. As I mentioned, I really do not want this bass knob to be visible, so if you go under the steering wheel by the pedals, there are a few adjustment knobs and factory buttons. I'm not sure exactly what these guys do, but as you can see to the left right here, there is this blank spot. So what we're gonna do is pop that out and see if our bass knob fits. This is a perfect spot because you will never know that it's there. It's not like I'm gonna be tweaking the bass knob all the time, and it is still 100% accessible from the driver's seat. As you can see, I'm touching it right now. I'm leaned over a little bit, not the most comfortable thing in the world, but I can still read it just fine. And it's not like I'm gonna be messing with it all the time. So let's try to pull that off. So this is interesting. I pulled the panel down, and as you can see, this is our blank button right here from the bottom side from the top. And it has this little plug, but obviously this plug does not go to a button or a switch or anything. And it looks like this was some option that came with the car that my base model just does not have. But it's interesting that it has the cable and that it plugs into the plastic blank tab, and there's just nothing in there. So if anybody knows what this feature is and has an LS460, let me know, because I'm just kind of intrigued. So let's see if the bass knob fits in this empty hole. So I unclipped part of the harness just to make it a little bit easier to move this panel around. It almost fits. It is so close to getting through that hole, but it's not quite there. So what I'm gonna do, I don't have the means of properly caving this out. Ideally, you'd want to use a rounded file or a Dremel or something of the sort. I am just gonna melt this plastic a little bit and try to push it to the side here and here to make a little bit of room for the base knob. It's a little bit ghetto. It's gonna work just fine. You'll never see it. And this is part of the advantage of doing it out of sight. You'll never see this even if I do end up taking out the system, and the plastic plug will cover any of the damage. So I'm not worried about it. I'm gonna try that real quick, see if it works, and hopefully we can get this base knob in place. Here is the final result of the base knob install, and it actually looks amazing. If I had done it a little bit further right, it could have covered up that gap, but again, you're never gonna see this. I'm not worried about it at all. The fire method worked great. I am not gonna recommend it. It's not what I would have done had I had a Dremel or a file on hand. I just didn't. So yeah, just heating up the plastic and massaging it with a screwdriver works great. As you can see, it's in there, it's stiff. I tightened down the nut, it's not going anywhere. This is awesome, out of sight, out of mind. I'm gonna put this panel back up where it needs to be underneath the dashboard, connect all the wires back up, then we'll get on to routing this cable. Lastly, just to make sure this little clip didn't rattle, I threw a piece of electrical tape on it, so it's not going anywhere. After putting it back up there, I noticed the cable had the opportunity to rub up against the steering shaft right there. Not ideal. So what I did is I just pulled this panel down again real quick, took the cable, taped it there, ran it along with the OEM harness and taped it there. So now that's all good. I do not want wires getting tangled up in my steering shaft. I do not want this thing fraying or anything of the sort. And if the original Lexus engineers think this routing of wire is good for the last 150,000 miles, running this wire along with it will be just fine. Next thing I need to do is route the wire back into the trunk. I ordered an aux-to-aux extender. It just hasn't showed up yet, so I'm not gonna be able to do it in this video. I might end up doing it off camera or in the actual subwoofer install. But basically, we need to get this signal into the trunk where our line output converter is. All I did was pop off this little shell, and these two pieces are actually glued together at the seam. So I'm tucking the wire along this crevice right here. It's just cut off at the top. The wire can go over, down the crevice, and I'm gonna try to yank it up so it's along with these other wires right here. Props to Toyota Lexus, because this is the nicest wiring loom I've ever seen under a side step ever. I'm very familiar with Volvo 240s, as you guys know, and this is just infinitely nicer. These clips are super nice. None of them broke after almost 20 years and 150,000 miles of people stepping in and out of this thing. So mad props. I'm gonna run the wire real quick. It'll probably only end up landing around here, but that's fine. I'll run it the rest of the way another time. Toyota, that is so sick. For now, that is the base knob install complete, and it is ready to be run to the line output converter. As you can see, I have the rest of the cable just hanging out down here. Once I get the extension to run to the back, I'll run it under this piece, under the one in the door, and then there should be a pass through to the trunk, and I'll run it across. It'll be good. This looks great. I am more than happy because it is completely OEM. So we met one of our objectives of keeping this thing stock and undetectable that it's modified. If I ever want to pull that out, you'd never know. Even if I wanted to leave it in there and sold to somebody, they would never find that. So I am super pleased with how this all routed through. And that is going to be a wrap for the video. I hope this helped you install a line output converter on your own car. or at least learn how you can integrate one into a factory amplifier or factory sound system. Super simple. All you need to do is tap into some factory speaker wires, run a power, ground, and signal. The signal we will do in the next video when we actually install the subwoofer. And then the bass knob doesn't come with all line output converters. I got it on mine because the subwoofer I have, I bought it used from a friend. It originally came with a bass knob, but it got lost in translation. So this bass knob is going to be perfect to run straight to the line output converter. I can adjust the gain from down here, which is perfect. And yeah, as I said, in the next video, we will do the subwoofer and amp, and the rest of the wiring, I believe, comes tomorrow for the power wire and ground for the amp. So I'm super excited for that. So hopefully that video will come out 4 or 5 days, maybe 3, let's just say 3 or 4 days after this video is being released. So I'm excited to keep the ball rolling on this car because there are a couple other things I want to do. So I'm rambling. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions about specifically how I routed it into the LS460, if something wasn't clear, let me know. If you have questions about it for any other vehicle, also let me know, because it's pretty universal. I have a good understanding of how to do this install, and I'm happy to help. Message me on Instagram, message me in the YouTube comments. I will answer either. My Instagram is in the description of every single video, so follow me, like my shit. That's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end. If you are still here, it means a lot. I really appreciate it. I'd rather have low numbers of people who actually watch my videos than high numbers of people who skim. So either way, we'll take it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please subscribe. I have a feeling you're not subscribed. Subscribe to the video, bro.